Those whose activities are exclusively homosexual, however, include approximately 4% of our male population. And we have here a problem of major proportions.
Boys particularly dress up in the clothes of the opposite sex. They posture like members of the opposite sex. They experiment with cosmetics. Now, we see these as children, but we don't know what becomes of them as adults. These are termed by the psychiatrist transvestites. And the psychiatrist doesn't consider the transvestite and the homosexual as necessarily the same.
What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual. Ralph was arrested.
She wants to be America's next top model, but there's a hitch on this one. The she actually used to be he, and I think still is. She tells, or he tells, Us magazine that she identifies herself as a woman born physically male. She's told you guys, my cards were dealt differently. Boy, that's an understatement. I got to tell you, she had me fooled when I went to the website. I couldn't pick her out. How about you?
A lot of people fooled, and you know, a lot of these girls, you can't tell what they are.
56. That's how many options you now have to describe your gender on Facebook. The social networking site is adding options that include transgender, intersex, whatever that is, and neither.
Hello, my name is Robin, and this is a video in honour of LGBT History Month. The LGBT community has very, very interesting, but sadly not always pleasant or happy history, including the 1961 educational film Boys Beware, which was shown just before this. It was the one with the creepy looking guy with the glasses, and Ralph, I believe his name was, to the rather more recent case of Leila Alcorn. I think during this month it's important to do two things. Number one is to look back at our history, look at the violence and oppression, but also the victories and steps towards equality. Remember in steps forward such as the 1931 case of Dora R., who was the first ever trans lady to undergo gender reassignment surgery, as well as more tragic cases such as the trans man Brandon Teena and his murder in 1993. The second thing is important to do during this month is to understand how things have changed since these events in the past. To look at our dark past, to look at our history, to see how bright today and tomorrow, the present and the future really is. Horrible cases such as the murder of Brandon Teena have called for new ways of looking at the law, policing, and understanding hate crimes, homophobia and transphobia. And this allows us a safer future. If we look at homosexuality, then we can see that in the past it was treated as a crime in England until 1994, and in just 21 years we have gone from criminal charges for public homosexuality to having national pride events each year, TV shows aimed at gay audiences, and support from outside the LGBT community. During my time at a local group known as All Sorts, we were asked to think about our unsung heroes, people we respect in our community's history who have not been that well known. Now, I find the issue with unsung heroes is that they are just that, unsung. Everyone I know has been spoken about in the press and online, making them fairly well sung about. Now please understand that people like Leila Alcorn, Laverne Cox and my personal trans heroine Janet Mock all deserve the praise and the attention they get, but their stories have been told, so I'd like to shift the focus away from them for just a short while. I would now like to talk about two people. Both, at least to myself, are fairly unsung. You'll have to forgive me for pronouncing any names wrong. These two people are Angie Zapata and Judith Butler. These are not so much heroes to me, but people who deserve to be recognised as people who, in small or large ways, have improved our community. Angie Zapata was a trans woman living in America, born in 1989 in Brighton, Colorado. At 16 years old, she made the brave choice to start living full-time as a female. Now, she was lucky enough to have a supportive family behind her. Her mother, although supportive of Aggie and her brother who was gay, was concerned for their safety. And when Aggie met Alan Angrade, her fears were tragically proven true. After Aggie spent 3 days with Alan, he discovered that she was in fact trans. And after discovering this, he violently beat her to death. Her tragic death marked the first time that a hate crime including a transgender victim had been prosecuted under US law. Her horrible death paved the way for how the American justice system prosecuted attacks on transgender people. This attack, although horrible and appalling, paved a better understanding and treatment of trans people experiencing hate crimes in America, and she deserves to be remembered. Her sacrifice was great. Judith Butler is a philosopher and gender theorist who has written a number of papers and essays on understanding sexuality and gender. In her 1990 paper, Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity, Judith wrote about gender. This paper argued that gay rights activists, in order to gain more ground, should start to deconstruct the normative models of gender. Judith's work has led to a better understanding of transgender people and gender as a whole. Thanks to people like Judith, trans people, including the non-binary community, are starting to be recognised more and more. I hope during this month of LGBT history we're able to remember those that have paved the way for a better understanding of LGBT's mental and physical safety with their lives. These people include Angie Zadita, Brandon Tina, and Leela Alcorn, as well as many, many more. We also need to pay thanks and respect to those that are helping us towards equality, such as Judith Butler, Janet Mock, Laverne Cox, and of course, many more. This may be LGBT History Month, but during this month of looking backwards, I hope that we're able to look forwards and see a much brighter future laying ahead of us. Let us spend the remainder of this month remembering the past, thinking back on the things that have brought us to the point that we're at now, and let us use this strength to help us keep moving forwards towards equality. Thank you very much for watching.
Walking in the rain, the feeling comes again. Something in my head tells